desktop and type PowerShell. Now this is traditional, aka Windows PowerShell. This is the native version. And one of the things you can do is, of course, we have to do it because it's a law with introductory programming things. There we go. All right, so there's hello world, the screenshot did compile. One of the things we can do is we can do PS version table, and this will tell us the version of PowerShell we're using. And you notice a couple things there. First of all, the version number, and it's currently at 5.1, and then the last two sets of numbers there in the quad tuple is that it's listing the same version number of the host operating system. Okay? And then notice the addition says desktop. Okay? So it's telling us it knows that we're running on a Windows system and it runs particular flavor. Normally this wouldn't be a thing to really talk about too much, but now with the advent of PowerShell core, it might be important for you to know which version is running. So this one says, hey, I tried to run your script, it's not working. Okay, well, did you choose the right one? Now, PowerShell core is in preview. And in fact, if we switch over here to my other machine, we can come over here and pick PowerShell 6.0 Beta 7. And let's get the font a little bigger. This came out last week, so it is hot off the presses. And of course you can't modify it because I didn't run as admin. But if we do PS version table here, right, we see this is 6.0 beta, it is the 7th drop, and then notice the addition there is core. Right, so that's one way you'll be able to check very simply which one to run on. Now on Windows, they're going to be very similar in their capabilities and power. That said, in the effort to go cross-platform, they had to obviously standardize. So some of the more intrinsic Windows behaviors, think WMI, for example, which is something you might reach out to from PowerShell, or God forbid you start whipping in some pinvoke calls. Obviously, those aren't going to work, right? So you have to keep that in mind when you go to your scripts and what you're targeting for. Obviously, PowerShell on the desktop, the existing version, is very mature, and it's still what I use in a day-to-day environment, definitely in production. Because I've got a lot of existing scripts, and my customers have scripts that we've written over the years. So this is a transition phase, and it's good to be aware of PowerShell core and start looking at it, start playing with it. And every once in a while, it'd be good to take a session and go, okay, I've written the script in PowerShell on the desktop, let me go try the PowerShell core. And the good news, as you can see here, I can run PowerShell side by side on the same machine very happily. Okay? Now, but that's, that's great, that's Windows. Let's go over here and go over to Ubuntu Linux.
Ryan, very quick question.
Very quick answer.
What would be the use case for running them side by side, core and?
There is a use case to run side by side, it's compatibility. It's the standard backwards compatibility. Would you like to rip out the one that you've been known and love so you can run the new one? No. The use case is simple, right? PowerShell core does not do everything Windows PowerShell does today, is the simplest answer. But on Linux, we don't have that. In fact, I'm on a bash shell right now, but if I type the magic PowerShell command, I'm now running the same version of PowerShell that I was running over on Windows. And in fact, I can ask it if it's Linux. I can ask it, is it Windows? No. And I can even come over here and on Mac OS and do the same thing. And they even updated this to be correct because they used to have OS 10. So is it Mac OS? So you'll be able to tell from your PowerShell scripts, number one, which flavor you're on, and number two, very quickly, which major host environment you're on. Then, of course, you can drill down if you have some specific operating systems. Naturally, your goal whenever you write a PowerShell script is to be as agnostic as possible, but that's not always going to work, right? And here's a simple example. One of the things you can do with PowerShell is you can have something called PS drives. Or say get PS drives, sorry. And notice one of those is the environment. So you can do, say, get child item. having trouble switching between two different keyboard layouts. And I should probably just use the shortcut GCI. And we do something like env. And GCI, env, there we go. All right, and you'll notice that we get access to a lot of the standard bash environment variables that we would get normally in a bash prompt, which is great. And so we have access, for example, to the user. So I do GCI env user and get that environment variable. Well, we come over here to Linux and we do GCI env user, and it works great. Now let's go over here to Windows, GCI env user, and we get an error. So that is an unfortunate side effect that we still have some of this notion of a leaky abstraction, right? We're seeing the underpinnings where some of the stuff that is fundamentally different between the base operating systems, right? Linux and Mac OS obviously share heritage, Windows does not. So I'm not spending more time really in PowerShell core other than I just think it's obviously amazing that I can be on my Mac and be using the same constructs and functionality on the same multiple operating systems. And once again, this is the beginning, right? We're just getting started. Microsoft is on an amazing cadence in their innovation when it comes to the cross-platform compatibility, both for PowerShell core and .NET core. And so it's really something good to have in your back pocket when you think about DevOps, configuration, etc. All right, so now let's go back over, and I must be in Zoom it, that's right, okay. All right, so getting started. Well, definitely you're gonna do what I did, you're gonna start generally at an interactive command prompt. And you'll notice that when I was typing, I was having trouble, but the thing that saved me a lot is the tab key, right? So that's gonna do what's called command completion and command expansion, and save you some typing. The other thing to start learning is when you find some of your favorite commands, there will be aliases for those commands. Now, sometimes the aliases are wrappers on top of operating system commands. For example, PowerShell by default, when you want to do a directory in the system, uses ls, right? On the other hand, if you type dir, it still works. That's because they mapped an alias. Get child item is also an alias to GCI, okay? So those are one of the things that can do to really optimize your typing experience. The $PS XXX variables will give you a list of system information, most normally the PS version table as I showed you. And then built into the system is get-help. This can let you get help on commands. So if we go back over here to our PowerShell window and type get help GCI, well, first of all, what I was able to do is I was able to pass in that alias. It still knew what it was, it's the get child item. I always screw up on the dashes. And then notice down here, 3 different aliases for it. GCI, ls, and dir, for the most part, will all act the same, okay? But then you'll notice all the different syntax, and then you'll see remarks, etc., on how to use it. And you can do that for all the built-in commands. If the creator of a third party or another library related to PowerShell has gone to the trouble to also write documentation, it will show up as well, okay? But if you try to get help and the command isn't displayed, it's not PowerShell's fault, it's the person who wrote the other library, right? They basically didn't do the full extra mile. If you're considering doing anything related to real PowerShell documentation, you gotta check out the tools from Sapien, they're third party. And Sapien has a bunch of awesome PowerShell related tools. They're hardcore into PowerShell, and they have other great tooling. But they have tools to sit around doing docs. And one of their employees is also a PowerShell MVP, and if you can do a doc, she knows how to do it. She hangs out on Twitter, really nice. I'll tweet out her name because it's escaping me for some reason. But she's totally awesome, loves to help out with PowerShell and getting that good help documentation. Okay, now, get command will list all the current commands available for the session. So depending upon where PowerShell is running, the available commands can be different. This is most notable if you're running inside a secondary PowerShell host, or you're running in a custom PowerShell host session, such as what happens with a lot of Microsoft Server products. When you install SharePoint, when you install Exchange Server, God forbid you're having to do either of those anymore, by the way. I really feel sorry for anybody who's doing that anymore. But if you have to do that, they have options to install their PowerShell modules. And when you do, there's a special command shortcut they'll set where they load the extra DLLs and libraries that support their extended functionality. Okay, so if you find a command missing, That's one way to figure that out. Showed you get PS drives, which lets you get system drives. Let me go back over here just really quick on the Windows system for that, because what's pretty twisted about this is how powerful this system is. So if I do get PS drive, you'll see I have some obvious drives, like my C drive. I have a D drive and I have an E drive. And I showed you that they have this thing called ENV. So what they've done is they've mapped the environment variables of the system into a similar structure that we have with working with a typical tree file structure. But then look at this other stuff in here. H key CU, H key LN. Yes, I can actually traverse the registry just like I would the file system. Standard disclaimer and warnings. Do as I say, not as I do. And so you know what we're going to do? We're going to go back to the safety of the C drive. Right, investigate the registry, be careful. You can, assuming permissions, read and write to it from PowerShell, and you basically use the standard syntax. If you're really into that, and this is where I draw the line. When I started playing with that, I thought this was cool. But it was one of those places where I go, you know what? I know how to talk to the registry using, I've done it with Win32, I did the days of DBCom, and I know how to do it with .NET. I like the extra safety that .NET and my compiler provides me, and so in all honesty, you won't find me using that as cool as I think it is. So the geek in me thinks it's wonderful. As a production coder and practitioner, I would not use it, okay? Now, some of your advanced scripters, hey, party on if that's your lifestyle you lead. I'm not saying you shouldn't use it, it's there for a reason. But always be careful with the system registry. I'm actually questioning whether I should have showed that before. All right. Now, when you're sitting down to work in Windows, as I mentioned, the console is built in. The integrated scripting environment is built in. So let's take a look at that. So we'll go over here to another window, and we'll do ISE. And what we're going to get here is an environment where we can write scripts as well as run interactive commands. And for some reason, my fonts have decided to go tiny again, so let's fix that really quick. Apologize. Let's get a little 16 there. There we go. And so we do something like write host, and notice we get IntelliSense. Oh, that's awesome. Never said no to IntelliSense. And one of these you do, you can do semicolons if you like. We'll just send it to live.ps1. I can save a script as a PowerShell 1 script, and I can change to that folder. And then I can do live. And it helps if I put the extension. And so I can run it from there. I can also do something like $food equals a message of peace in these trying times. And I will not even bother to start talking about the news that I saw today. So you guys will figure it out. It's pretty obvious. All right, so we'll do that. And we'll save. I can rerun it again. And that's actually a message of peach. Well, if we were in Atlanta. Okay.
I was wondering.
I haven't developed figure. I get hungry. I'm sorry. Let's do peace, and we'll try that again. And I can even click it by just pressing the play button there. Now, one thing about context here. If you don't care about where the script is running from relative to any input data, just clicking the plus sign will run it. However, it'll run it into the relative scope of the bottom window. So if you're expecting a file to be there to do something, it might fail. So one of the things to do is think about working where your script is temporarily if you want some kind of input data. But the other thing you might need to do, of course, is debug. That's what ISE will let you do as well. And that I can come in here and take a look at my variables, and I can go step. And now I can come look at foo, and we take a look, and foo is going to be a message of peace in these trying times. So you get basic debugging features that you would expect in the ISE. However, while the ISE is nice, and definitely I'm a fan because if I go up to a Windows server, I can generally find it. On a Windows desktop, it's going to be there, no extra installs. Even Microsoft has said, hey, with PowerShell Core, we're going to want to really address this issue. We really don't want to be, having people fight over whether they're just using Vim or Emacs or anything else. Let's just have a common way of doing PowerShell cross-platform. And so what they've done is they've said, let's live a happy lifestyle with Visual Studio Code. So Visual Studio Code is Microsoft's lightweight cross-platform development environment